Hi there everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict, where we will concentrate by and large on what happened at the Qatar Goodwood Festival last week amidst very heavy rain. We'll also go to Galway for a very nice performance from an Aidan O'Brien 2-year-old. So let's have a look at Wednesday's times at Goodwood. Of course, the rain fell all week essentially, and the times were very slow, and they were particularly slow on Wednesday when the rain poured down. The goat bolted up and he was over 14 seconds outside. That gave us an idea of what to expect. Paddington was over 10 seconds outside, and there's the door over 13 outside. Essentially, we were dealing with heavy ground on the round course, just a bit better on the straight course. But it's the round course where we concentrate on the big race of the meeting now, the 3:35. It was the Qatar Sussex Stakes. It was over a mile, 9-4 on Paddington, looking to win yet another Group 1. In Spiral, 5-1, 15-2 Al Dari, who loves soft ground. Factor Cheval, French Raider, 11-1, nibbled out in the market, and Charin, no support at all, 40-1, having been 28s. Let's have a look at what happened in the Sussex Stakes. And it was Paddington, long odds on, stall number 4, who got the job done from Factor Cheval in stall 5, and Charin from 1 was back in 3rd place. Now, when we're looking at times and the sectionals that produce those final times, you have to remember what the conditions were out there, and they were very attritional. So throughout the verdict, as we look at Goodwood, we're not going to see horses flashing through in 10.8 or 10.7 times in the final 3 furlongs or so, because the ground really affected the sectionals. The ground didn't affect the pace in this race early on, a pace that was dictated by Ryan Moore on Paddington. And he's got a soft lead out there. He's definitely got his own way out in front. Ryan able to do it as he wanted to do it. The finishing speed percentage that he produced was 109.31. So even in the conditions, this horse was able to finish off over 9% quicker in the final 3 furlongs than he ran the rest of the race. And that tells us, one, that he's very talented. We know that anyway from his CV, but also that Ryan was able to save a lot of petrol in the early part of the contest. Now, this is one good point of interest here as they swing for home. Frankie Dettori makes a move on Inspiral. And he makes a move because he wants to grab the stand-side rail, which was favoured on the Wednesday, perhaps slightly better ground there. And Dettori engages Paddington, perhaps earlier than Ryan would have liked, to try and secure that rail. And he's made a big move on Inspiral, and this filly was fastest through the 4th and the 5th furlong as Dettori tried to secure that rail, and indeed he got it. But the great thing about Ryan Moore is that he just didn't panic. He sat still and said, all right, you've got the rail, no problem, but I am not going to get too engaged with you. You've had to work hard to get to the rail. You've fired a couple of quick sectionals just to get there. I'll save a bit more petrol and then go when I want to go. And that's what he does, because between the 7th and the 8th furlong, Paddington's quickest, puts Inspiral away. She's used up all her energy to get across to the rail first, and then Paddington goes when Ryan Moore wants to go. He won't be dictated to by Dettori. 7th furlong, 11.98, and he finished off in 13.14. Look at the second horse. This is the French horse, finishing off the race really strongly. It was a good finish from this horse. Ran the final 3 furlongs just a little bit quicker than the winner, and was faster in the 6th furlong, 11.52. So Factor Cheval's run an absolute blinder, trying to run down a brilliant horse in Paddington, who is very much a horse for all occasions. Rishi Prasad dubbed him the Iron Bear. I thought that was a very good description of this fella. I really like that, because he's looking to do what Giants Causeway did, the Iron Horse, of course. Well, we had an Iron Horse, we've now got an Iron Bear. He's won 4 Group 1 races on the bounce, and he's just getting better and better, considering he started his life off in a handicap this season. Where does he go? Well, multiple options available to him. Juddmonte International, of course, Irish champion, and there's talk of the Arc. He can do anything, this horse. Any ground, any trip at the moment, from a mile to a mile and a quarter, he's absolutely fine at. He's got a great mind, as Aidan will tell you. He's a very relaxed horse. He does things the right way. He doesn't pull. You can drop him in, or you can make the running with him. And overall, he was just miles better than his opponents here. But he was miles better than them under a very well-judged ride from Ryan Moore. He was in charge of the race until Dettori tried to bustle him up. Moore didn't panic. He went when he wanted to go, and Paddington responded in spades. From what I felt was heavy ground on the Wednesday, the ground was slightly better on Thursday, as judged by these times. I think we could say it was just a little bit better. It was sort of soft, heavy in places, I would describe it as. And we're going to have a look at 3 races from the Thursday. We'll have a look at Vandeek in the Richmond, have a look at Desert Hero as well, and Al Hussein causing a little bit of a shock in the Nassau Stakes. So 3 interesting races to go at here, and we'll start with Vandeek, who won in a time of 1:13.45 over 6 furlongs. And put up a pretty good performance. He was sent off favourite 11-8. Sketch was 2-1 and really heavily supported just before the off. Bobsleigh 7s, Tokamadera 15-2, and it was 16s and bigger the rest. It was the favourite who obliged. It was Vandeek winning for the Roger Varian team, and he jumped out of stall number 3 in the yellow and black striped colours if you want to pick him out in the run. Second was Ballymount Boy at a big price, ran really well. Tokamadera from 6 in 3rd place. OK, let's have a look at this straight race, the straight track a little bit better than the round track. Vandeek had been impressive on his debut at Nottingham, where he fluffed the start, made up ground readily and quick and clear, and he featured on the verdict after that particular performance because his sectionals were very impressive in the closing part of the race. Here, once again, he was slowly away. To a degree, a little bit by design from Andrea Tseni. I think he just wanted a lead because this horse can be keen. You can see he's just doing a bit much down the hill at this stage. He's just a bit keen under Tseni, and I think he did want to lead. And now it's a question of when Tseni is going to let him go and let him loose. The finishing speed percentage was 103.01. So given the conditions, it's a reasonably evenly run race, you'd have thought. And now Vandeek is angled out and asked to go, and he goes in some style given the ground. The 4th furlong, he went 11.2, and the 5th 11.28. Those are 2 quick furlongs in these conditions. He's not far off 11 seconds for 2 furlongs consecutively. And then what happens is he pays for that late on. He's done his winning, he's won the race, he's quickened well through 2 furlongs, and now he's tired with a 13.17 final furlong. Ballymount Boy chasing him down with a 12.92. So Vandeek won the race with that burst of speed through the 4th and the 5th furlong, and then he emptied. What that tells me is that he was probably better than the winning margin, but Andrea Tseni couldn't get a lead for long enough. If he could have just dropped in for longer and waited and then unleashed him, he would have won nicely, better than he actually has, and he would hit the line a bit harder. Nonetheless, he still won this. It's a big step up from his win at Nottingham on his debut. And I think he's going to be a better horse when they can wait with him for longer and when he gets a better gallop to go at. If he got a real furious gallop and he dropped his head a little bit better, then I think he would be a much better horse. Now, one thing to just point out is that those that race towards the stand side, like Sketch, on this day, the Thursday, seemed to have very little chance. He seemed to be wanted to be sort of middle to far side on what was the 3rd day of the meeting. Vandeek, he's emptying in the closing stages. He's really tired, but he's flashed his speed, which was enough to put his rivals away in the 4th and the 5th furlong. On fumes in the 6th, nonetheless, a very talented horse. He's in the Champagne at Doncaster. He's in the Mill Reef at Newbury as well. And that man, Andrea Tseni, is enjoying a golden summer at the moment. Ever since he said he was going to go and ride in Hong Kong, he cannot stop riding winners, and he'll be delighted he got on this very speedy 2-year-old. Time now to have a look at a very interesting John Pearce Racing Gordon Stakes that took place on the Thursday at 3 o'clock. Espionage, the 7-4 favourite for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Artistic Star, 3-1. Chess Piece, 7-2. And Canberra Legend, 7s, along with Desert Hero. Burdett Road, 28s, 7 ran. Desert Hero puts up a good performance to win this, jumping from stall 2 in His Majesty the King's colours. Chess Piece from 4 who made the running in 2nd place, and Canberra Legend from 1 was back in 3rd. This is how this race unfolded. First thing to say is from stall 6, Espionage, who went off favourite, didn't run any sort of race whatsoever, and he got very sweaty and edgy in the prelims. Down at the start, he was awash in a muck sweat, and I think he left his race behind pre-race, and I think he can perhaps be forgiven this and perhaps given another chance on the back of his Killarney success when he was tried at a trip for the very first time. Now, Chess Piece goes on in the early point. Godolphin Blue, he's in front. The winner is sat last under Tom Marquand And there's chess piece at this stage. And this is a very steadily run race. Now, jockeys are clearly mindful of conditions. They were desperate on the previous day, and the round course was riding very slow. So they didn't want to go mad. But given that they went very steadily, and we had a finishing speed percentage of 111.18, they really have crawled out there throughout this contest. And the horse in last has done really well to win because he's at a positional disadvantage the way the race was run. And bear in mind that this fella out in front is a very strong stayer, and he's not going to stop in front. He's going to keep rolling. He'll stay 2 miles in the future. So Desert Hero has done well to actually manage to run him down and record a finishing speed percentage which is 11% quicker in the final 3 furlongs than he ran the rest of the race. Now that's impressive in its own right, but also he gets a bit of trouble in running. He gets his momentum checked as well, but he still manages to rally and get up and win. He showed a tremendous attitude when he won at Royal Ascot, and that attitude is very much on display here in the Gordon Stakes. Perhaps in an ideal world, James Doyle might have gone a bit quicker on the leader. We know from the figures that this is a steady gallop. He's on a strong stayer. He might have let him just bowl along a little bit quicker in the early part of the race, and that might have really brought out his stamina a little bit more. As it was, he gets run down by a horse who was fastest through the final 3 furlongs, Desert Hero, 36.87. Chess piece, 37.75. So it's almost a second quicker in the final 3 furlongs, Desert Hero, than chess piece. Now there's going to be a bit of trouble. Here he is, Black Cap, trying to get through, and he's just looking for a way to get a seam and to go at chess piece. And he just gets checked in his runs. Canberra Legend just in front of him in the white. Artistic Style in front as well. He's being held in at this stage. He can't let loose yet. But when he does, he quickens nicely in the conditions. The 10th furlong, 11.58. The 11th, 11.91. Those enabling him to run down chess piece, who keeps rolling. I would describe this as being a sharp piece of acceleration in the conditions. Those numbers in isolation would not impress anyone, 11.58, 11.91. But in the conditions, given that he didn't get a run when he wanted it, that's an impressive bit of acceleration to go and catch a horse who got first run on him and a horse who is a thorough stayer. So I think you mark up Desert Hero. I think this is a good performance in a very steadily run race. Tom Marquand is riding the top of his game at the moment, and he got this spot on in the end. He needed a bit of luck at this point to find a way out and use this horse's acceleration, but ultimately he gets out and runs chess piece down. Chess piece would have seen to better effect in a more strongly run race, but look, he's going well here, Marquand. All jockeys animated. Marquand looked for this gap, but he couldn't get in there. So he's gone back inside next to Canberra Legend between that horse and Artistic Style, and then he eventually gets a run, and that proved decisive for him to run down chess piece. He's in the Voltager. He's obviously in the Ledger, for which he's about 8-1. He's generally available around about the 8-1 mark. He's effective on faster ground as well. He's tough, he's consistent, and here, in these conditions, he's displayed a rare turn of foot. We didn't see many horses able to show that sort of turn of foot over a distance on the round course when all the rain fell at Goodwood. So you have to be impressed with him. He's only small, but he's very good indeed. The Ledger beckons. The feature race on Thursday was a really good Group 1. It's the Qatar Nassau Stakes. They were just shy of 10 furlongs. Blue Rose Sen, the Poulish winner, the Diane winner as well, was the odds-on favourite at 10-11. Nashwa, 11-4 on the back of her very good Falmouth win. Above the curve, 7-1. Al Hussein got the better of Nashwa when they met at Newcastle, 9-1. 25's Carnarvon, Never-Ending Story, 33s, and just the 7 runners here. But a fascinating clash of generations, if you like, because Blue Rose Sen was the 3-year-old that was strongly fancied in the race. Right, let's have a look and see what happened. It's a very interesting contest in terms of sectionals. Al Hussein from stall number 6 was your winner. Above the curve, Next Door was second, and Nashwa in 4 was in 3rd place. So this is a very tactical race, one of the most tactical races the whole of the Qatar Goodwood Festival. For there was an absolute crawl fest out there. They did not go any gallop whatsoever. Above the curve, set out to make the running, and the way the race was run, Al Hoosen was really nicely placed, just sat in behind that pace, whereas Nashwa is the one that's most inconvenienced by this steady gallop. You remember that she was able to quicken up on better ground from the back when she won this race last year, and that was in a steadily run affair, but this was giving her a lot to do in a steadily run contest. She flashes loads of speed, and she's shaped probably like the best horse in the race according to the sectionals, but she was unable to win. Al Hoosen getting a much better tactical ride and was in a better tactical position. I don't blame Holly Doyle on Nashwa, because Nashwa can be keen and needs to be held up and has to be settled. That's just the way it goes. You're then just a hostage to fortune as far as pace is concerned. How do we know this was steady? Well, visually, they looked to be crawling. And secondly, the finishing speed percentage produced by Course Track was 113.84. Wow, that is very steady indeed. If you think we had just over 111 the Desert Hero race, 113.84. So the winner, sat in second, has been able to finish off 13.84% quicker in the final 3 furlongs than she ran the rest of the race. No wonder Nashwa couldn't run her down from her position out the back. Now, we've talked about Nashwa and her position. What about the position of Blue Rose Sen? Just sat in there. She's not going to get a run. She can never really open up until the final furlong, and she is very much inconvenienced by her jockey going to try and get a run on the inside. You're trying to get up the inside of the world's best jockey, Ryan Moore. It ain't gonna happen. And I'm afraid that was just a little bit naive from this jockey. He's got the cutaway, he's tempted by the cutaway. He has a little look. There goes Ryan, you're not coming across there. And he cuts him off at the pass, and now he's in trouble trying to find a little bit of running room. At this stage, Al Hoosen is being nursed into it, but we must now point out Nashwa. Got a clear run down the outside, and she was fastest in the 8th furlong, and she was fastest in the 9th furlong. She went 11.31 and 11.34 to surge from the back to get almost to the front. She fired 2 really fast furlongs, which meant she made up her ground very quickly to the furlong pole, but then she paid for that a bit late on and got tired and weakened out of it, as Al Hoosen, who'd been better placed, just kept rolling out in front. Now, Blue Rose Sen is out. He's got a run. He's finally got a run down on the inside, and Blue Rose Sen will fire the fastest final furlong, 12.24. But that was the only time she could actually open up, the only time she had any running room, and she was able to fire the fastest furlong. So it was a messy, tactical race. We must give Al Hoosen and Jim Crowley credit. He had her in the right place. She responded to all of his urgings, and she's won 7 of her last 8 outings. But Nashwa in behind shaped really well. All of her ability that she showed in the Falmouth still intact with those 2 fast furlongs she fired to get herself in contention. And Blue Rose Sen had no chance, couldn't get up the inside, no running room. When she got out, she was able to fire the fastest final furlong. So messy, tactical. Jim Crowley got it absolutely right on the progressive and likeable Al Hoosen. A nice performance from her, and there's sure to be a bit more to come from her as she progresses through her career. Nice Group 1 for her. Well, let's move on to the Saturday card at Goodwood. Only 4 races. It got as far as the Stewards' Cup, won by Aberama Gold, and then the meeting was abandoned. The next 3 races were due to be run on the round course. It wasn't deemed fit. Far too much rain had fallen. They had an absolute deluge prior to the 3 o'clock contest, and I think if the Stewards' Cup had been round a bend, they wouldn't have run it. But anyway, we're going to have a look at Sumo Sam in the 3 o'clock mile and 3/4 contest. 16 seconds outside standard in this Fillies and Mares Group 2 over a mile and 3/4 free wind. Was fully expected to win for the Gosdens and Frankie, 10-11. River of Stars 100-30, Time Lock 9-2 and well backed. Luisa Casati 11-1, Peripatetic 14s. Sumo Sam 25s, having been 16s. The drift didn't matter. She managed to belie that drift in some style here for the Coles. Stall number 1 for her. Second home was River of Stars, came out of stall number 6. A third home, Time Lock from 3. And the favourite Free Wind, we might as well just pick her out because she's interesting what she does mid-race. She finished in 4th place. OK, so what we've got here is almost a repeat of what Quickthorn did in the Goodwood Cup, where Tom Marquand made every yard of the running and didn't look in much danger from a long way out. And Much the same here, Sumo Sam against the rail, blue cap, yellow colours, a little bit keen in the early part of the race, but goes straight to the front, and Tom dictates matters. He doesn't pull as far clear as he did on Quickthorn in the early part of the race, but he's never headed from now on, and she clearly relished conditions. This, of course, being the final race on the round course on the day. It was incredibly soft, and she was perhaps the only filly who really handled conditions. And did she get an easy lead out in front? Was that why she won? Well, let's have a look at the figures. It's not really the case. He's gone a good gallop on her. That's what's won her the race. Stamina has won her the race, and an ability to handle the conditions. Because we've talked about finishing speed percentages. The last two races we've looked at 113 plus for Al Hussein, 111 plus for Desert Hero, 99.15 out there for Tom Marquand. Now in those conditions, that's pretty strong. He's gone a good gallop here. He's taken no prisoners, and this filly has completely outstayed her rivals, who probably didn't handle the very soft ground. But nonetheless, she's done really well from the front, and there is no doubt that she would stay further than this 1 3/4. She'd stay 2 miles, but she might always be ground dependent. And therefore, in terms of form, I think we've got to be a little bit careful about this race. We've seen the best of Sumo Sam, but perhaps not the best of some of the others. The winner was good through the final section of the race, as well as the early part. Free wind is given a lot to do by Frankie, wary of conditions, no doubt. There he is sat in there on the favourite, but he does make a move in the 11th furlong to try and get competitive. And do you know what? She moves into it very stylishly, but then it's just all too much for her in the conditions. She fires one of the quickest furlongs in the race to try and get close to the leader. The 11th furlong, she went 11.53, but that was it. She couldn't sustain her speed from there on in. See, now Frankie's going to begin to think about making a move and getting a little bit closer to the principals. Marquand still going even fractions out in front, and now Frankie will just edge her out. Big white face at the back there, and she starts to edge her way into contention. There we go. And look, she does so on the bridle. Frankie's not moving. She's really firing herself into contention, but that's all she can do. 1 furlong, that one quick furlong where she's quicker than the rest, and that's it. Now, Sumo Sam, this is where this filly's impressive. Fastest through each of the final 3 furlongs. Each single furlong, of the final 3, she's quickest. 13.32, 14.19, 15.22. Yes, they're slow fractions, but she's quicker than everything else. They're all plodding in behind. They can't handle conditions. She can, and she stays very well too. There's free wind, look, white face, legless. She weakens into 4th. Big effort into contention, then stopped. River of Stars plugs on, having an always prominent time lock, back in 3rd. Look how far Sumo Sam has won by under. An excellent ride from Tom Marquand, who's the leading rider at the meeting, and deservedly so. The winner needs credit, but it's going to have to go out there and prove that this is not just a conditions-based win. What I would say is the ride that she got from Tom Quickthorn Marquand was a very good one. He went an even gallop out there, he went strong, and he exposed the stamina limitations of his rivals, and she handled conditions best of all. Well, whilst the Qatar Goodwood Festival was going on last week, so was the Galway Festival, and we saw some tremendous action, both national hunt and flat. Here were the winners on Saturday, and of course it was a mixed card. I want to pick out Navy Seal, who won the 3:05, and Aidan O'Brien, 2-year-old, having his second career start. His time was slow, 7 3/4 outside standard, but the ground was very much on the soft side. So we are not going to hold that necessarily against him. All of the times were slow throughout the meeting. So Navy Seal won this maiden. He went off 4s on, Bad Desire 4-1, 12s Cathaniel, Mexican Joe 25s, 40s Tea or Coffee, Eastern Cape 125-1. Now you may well ask yourselves, well, why is he looking at Navy Seal, who's 4s on? It should win anyway. Well, it's just the way he did it, and I think he's a group horse in the making. Let's have a look at what his performance was here. I think he'll win a group race, this horse. I know this was just a modest maiden at Galway. When he ran on his debut, he was incredibly green. He was very, very raw. He was clueless, and he never looked like winning, but he ran okay. The penny seemed to be dropping a little bit in the closing stages. This is quite steadily run, given the conditions, heavy ground. And the sectionals that are available for Galway on the Racing TV website, they were nothing flash at all, but it's the way that he goes about this that really impressed me. And he runs down a horse who gets first run on him and who fires a quick furlong once they turned into the home straight. Yet, once Seamie Heffernan digs into him, he finds loads for pressure. He's just towards the outside there in that familiar blue cap. And the runner up here, who'll be the first to kick, is the horse he has to go and chase. Bad Desire, on debut for the Joseph O'Brien team. Dylan Brown McMonigal on board. He had a very good Galway. At this stage, you think he's ideally placed. Navy Seal, he's travelling quite strongly, swinging downhill, and then they'll start the uphill run towards the final few furlongs. Just hanging off the bend, Bad Desire, just a little bit green at that point. Navy Seal still on the bridle, but things are going to start happening now. You can just see this 2-year-old on the rail beginning to quicken up. Fires an 11.9 second furlong now. Dylan goes and just catches Navy Seal out. Seamie Heffernan, not panicking, he's come between horses, but now he's thinking, you're not doing this, you don't know what to do. So he pulls a whip through, 1, 2, and then straightens Navy Seal out and asks him to go. And his 7th furlong of 12.04 in conditions for a 2-year-old was good enough to run down a horse who'd got first run on him, Bad Desire. Look at him go now as he hits the front, surging clear. And watching this live, it was evident that it took Seamie Heffernan quite a while to pull him up after the line. See there, look, he's full of energy. He's just been out there and done an exercise canter as far as he's concerned. Seamie got a tight hold of him, can't pull him up. This is a good performance from this horse. The second will win. He'll definitely win a maiden for Joseph O'Brien. This was his debut. He's very green, running around a fair bit. But once Navy Seal realised what he had to do, he surged away from his rivals. He absolutely cleared away. He's got a rounded action. He might always be best with a little bit of cut in the ground, as he got here. But I don't think he did a tap there. I just don't think he even knows he's had a race. He hasn't got a clue what happened out there, yet he's managed to go and win. Now, is he highly thought of? Well, Seamie Heffernan afterwards was quite bullish about him, said he's definitely a stakes horse, and I put it to you that I think he'll win a group race. I've got no doubt about that. He's in the Futurity. He's also in the National Stakes at the Curragh, so it'll be very interesting to see where they go with him. He's a big, strong, scopy individual who had no idea what was going on out there, but once Seamie Heffernan got him really organised in the home straight, he came home strongly and impressively. That 1 furlong of just over 12 seconds, sealing the deal. Keep an eye on him. Racing TV Tracker, possibly the place for Navy Seal. So that concludes the verdict this week. I hope you enjoyed looking back at some of the races at Goodwood. There were plenty that we could have picked out. I hope I picked out the salient ones. There certainly were some very interesting performances. Navy Seal, a horse for the future. Don't give up on a Desert Hero for the St Ledger. That was a really nice performance in the Gordon Stakes. Vandeek, he'll be better when he gets a little bit more cover. And the Nassau, it was a bit of a mess, but all credit to Al Hussein for landing that. Thanks for watching this week. Don't forget the verdict extra column. That'll be on the website tomorrow. For now, from me, bye-bye.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.